Susan Point, Tree of Life, video essay by Fabiola Vizcardo. Connecting with the artist. When my family and I arrived at Vancouver International Airport, full of hope of this new journey, we were shocked by the monumental Musqueam welcome figures and the Spindle World flight. By then, I still needed to know about the artist's name and her culture, but I was impressed and eager to learn what they wanted to share. Susan Agnes Point was born in 1952 in Allard Bay, British Columbia. She has been interested in art forms since she was little, but discovered her powerful personal style later in life. Point was forced into a residential school by age 4 and felt disconnected from her roots. Later, thanks to her mother and uncles, she learned about her ancestors' traditional culture, language, and art. In 1981, she immersed herself in the world of jewelry made with Northern Coast style. As a member of the Musqueam community, she realized it was necessary to do more research on Coast Salish art, so she decided to work hard to look for the information and learn. Susan did not just learn about the traditional ways, but also incorporated her style, making her a well-recognized contemporary Indigenous artist. I connected with her because she is a talented and prolific printmaker. His son Thomas remembered in an interview how she started her prints in their dining table. My children are also growing up between ink and paper. Susan is also well recognized for her carvings. She explained that carving making is calming and serene. As a woodblock printmaker, I can relate to that special connection. The experience created through materiality, tools, and your body is relevant as the final piece. Her public art is significant. She enjoys making it because everyone can experience it and understand the art forms. Therefore, she can continue the legacy for the traditional visual language. I keep my research and I found more and more wonderful art that is helping my family, and especially myself, connect with this land that has welcomed us as an uninvited visitors. This research led me to a relevant piece that intertwined Indigenous beliefs with my Christian beliefs. Susan Point worked closely with Christ Church Cathedral's architect, glassmaster artisan Yves Trudeau, and many heritage consultants to create a spectacular 19 feet tall stained glass piece, her most ambitious work in this medium. This piece is called Tree of Life. It was commissioned in 2009 by the Anglican Church after Point won a challenging competition. Susan Point studied at Pilchuck Glass School in Washington in 1986 as an artist in residence. Since then, she has delivered many pieces including glass as a medium, expanding the boundaries of Indigenous art, as any contemporary artist will do. On the other hand, she faced many criticism from galleries addressing that the medium was not native enough to be considered Indigenous art. As Michael Ames argued, they are labels that Western aesthetics standards put on Indigenous art and confine their aesthetics to limited ways, restricting and excluding artistic exploration or innovation. However, for Point, everything was crystal clear. Non-Indigenous person was going to tell her what Indigenous art should look like, what it should be talking about, or be made of. Even though mainstream institutions like museums and galleries could think they hold the truth about beauty, knowledge, and taste, it was time to step up and represent herself as a contemporary Indigenous artist. Tree of Life, 2009. A church is a place to worship for all Christians, to gather privately with God, our Creator, and to share as a community. A cathedral is a church that contains the bishop's cathedra, the Latin word for seat. Therefore, the cathedral is the centerpiece of a Christian community, very well crafted architecturally and ornamented inside to show the hierarchical position and power. Tree of Life is a magnificent piece that assembles an aesthetic experience that intertwines multi-layer of understandings, from the personal to the collective, from the formal analysis to the meaning-making process, creating a powerful political and social statement. When entering the church, a fixed place by Christian norms, it immediately noticed the tall welcoming windows. In the lobby area, where one prepares to enter to encounter God, one first encounters the First Nation art. Tree of Life is accompanied by two weaving made especially for the presentation ceremony. These two pieces remind us that before Christianity and any settler's belief, there was ancient knowledge in this land. The curved lines with warm colors create the structure of the tree that grows not only towards the sky, but widely around the space, connecting heaven and earth. The tree seems confined to that window, whereas colorful lights make their way into the building, soft but firm, disseminating a message, ancestral knowledge. Light blue sky, full of movement, flutter around the tree, almost releasing the natural limit between the blue water and the leaves. This dance of lines, colors, and shapes flow along with Salmon as wise spirits carrying back what was lost. Learning more about the significance of salmon in Musqueam culture made me understand that the selection to represent this animal was more important than just a symbol of the water world. Salmon represent determination and persistence, a perfect way to describe First Nations people's struggle throughout the years of colonization. However, salmon also means renewal. This concept is ideal in this setting, as it opens doors to articulate our beliefs, heal, and contributes to the truth and reconciliation process. Susan represents two pairs of salmons which denote regeneration, renewal, and a new birth of times where First Nations are respected and considered as the first and only owners of the land. After the mesmerizing first impression, one can enter into details and notice the ovals, crescents, and trigons, elements of Coast Salish visual language, presented and honored in this piece while teaching visitors visual elements and different understandings of nature and their relationship with the land. This idea of teaching through images is common and often used in Christianity. Connections with previous knowledge. Going back to medieval times in the Western world, Byzantine, Romanesque, and Gothic art are the perfect example of religions using images to teach doctrine and showcase their power. Religion and power are a connection that countries like mine know very well. When the Spaniards arrived in Peru blinded by the richness of our land, they used Christian imagery to teach indigenous people the correct way of living, the correct beliefs, and the correct word to worship. The settlers taught indigenous people to paint and create images of Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary, and the Holy Trinity. La Escuela Cusqueña, Cusco School of Art, which European Jesuits started, taught indigenous people to paint with the Spanish mannerism style. Indigenous art in Peru had geometrical foundations, but they learned the new way of representation skillfully and neatly. Nevertheless, artists like Diego Quispe and many other indigenous artists incorporate different elements of indigenous art while painting Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary, or other Christian symbols. Indigenous landscape, the sacred mountain, birds, and many references to Pachamama Mother Earth, were disguised for indigenous people to correlate to the new symbols. I wonder if this syncretism existed between Christianity and the First Nations' belief in the colonial history. Susan Point wanted to showcase indigenous art's extraordinary and monumental power, from the formal to the conceptual. However, given to this commission's nature, would there have been any room for syncretism in her work after her research and working closely with the church authorities? Returning to the Tree of Life, I was wondering if the Anglican Church used this idea of enlightening through image to re-educate their parishioners on indigenous living culture. If so, could this be a perfect way to take power back? And instead of learning indigenous ways through Western filters, they would learn it from the source, an indigenous artist. Christian and indigenous people share and celebrate together. An emotional opening ceremony for the Tree of Life occurred, and First Nations authorities were invited to participate and honor the moment. Even though having indigenous art included in their church pushes the limits, I could not stop thinking about where they decided to put it. It is inside the church, but outside the sacred place. In, but out. What is the message behind it? To conclude, Susan is an extraordinary indigenous artist whose passion for seeking new ways to honor and preserve ancestral knowledge within our contemporary world led her to many venues, opening opportunities for indigenous self-representation. Hi Sabka, gracias.